Hey everybody, thanks for taking the time to watch this video today. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time to share with you how my experience went training for, but then also running my first marathon this year. I was very touched by how many people kept asking me about how the marathon training was going all summer long. Every day I couldn't go without somebody asking me, how many rounds did you run over the weekend? Or how are things feeling? And it was really great just to feel how invested other people were in me. So today I want to take the opportunity to talk to all of you and explain how the marathon went, because I really do appreciate your support throughout the whole training. First, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Keenan Erickson. I'm a coach based in Chicago, Illinois. And this year I ran my first marathon. And I think it helps us to go back to the beginning of why did I actually choose to run this marathon? Well, there's really a few reasons. Number one is that my wife chose to run it. And I wanted to see my wife a little bit more this summer, and marathon training takes a lot of time. So in order for me to spend more time with her, I thought this was a great opportunity. The second reason I chose to run the marathon was because the way that we entered the marathon was that we could get a bid for it, but we had to raise money for a charity. And there's a charity right here in town that Elizabeth and I volunteer for called Nourishing Hope. It's an organization that helps to give food to people who need a little bit more food, but also some mental and health services. And then the last reason I wanted to run this marathon is I wanted to do a little bit of a proof of concept. Again, I'm a coach. I work with people every day. I help them make plans to accomplish goals. I help them get a little bit healthier. Maybe I make plans to help them become a little more athletic. But myself, I've never really programmed and coached somebody how to run for long distances. So this was an opportunity for me to kind of get into that world a little bit, to learn how do you progress somebody from being a casual runner to someone who can run a marathon. But also this is a bit of a test toward another project that I'm working on, but we'll talk more on that later. So how did we train for this marathon? Well, it starts a good bit back, actually. We began running casually back in early summer 2023. In this time, we did some easy 3-mile runs. I think we worked up to 5-mile runs. Overall, we spent the summer, training up to about 10-mile runs, and then we ran a 13-mile half marathon in the fall of 2023. After that, throughout the winter, we kind of took it easy because the weather kind of sucks here in the winter. It's gray, it's cold, it rains a lot. But really, we kicked up our running in June. June started our 18-week training program for the Chicago Marathon. Elizabeth and I used an organization in town called the Chicago Area Runners Association to help us train for the marathon. They're a great organization who kind of like groups together and makes a lot of group runs on the weekends. So when you do your long runs, you don't have to do it alone. They also support these long runs where they'll have aid stations, they have water and Gatorade every few miles along the lakeshore, which really helps when you get to your long runs, your 16, your 18s, your 20-mile runs. But really, way back in June, we started with just some easy running. I think we were doing 4 runs a week from the very beginning, 1 short run, 1 medium run, another short run, and then a long run. In the beginning, it was something like 2 miles, 4 miles, 3 miles, 6 miles for your long run. And then as we progressed, we'd build up for 2 weeks, take 1 week to cut back, build up for 2 more weeks, take a week to cut back, and progress along until about week 15, when I think we had our 20-mile run. And really throughout this whole time, the progression felt pretty reasonable. I don't want to say it was easy, but everything felt super appropriate. And really, I gather that that's what helped us run the marathon and feel so good afterward. Yes, the training did get hard at times, but it just shows how small incremental builds over time helps you get from what seems like an enormous goal to doing that enormous goal pretty easily, or at least at the intensity that you see feasible for yourself. So again, we spent this summer training with the Chicago Area Runners Association. We did a ton of running up and down the lakeshore. Everything progressed smoothly, and that led us to the marathon on October 13th, 2024, where we did it, and we did very, very well. We both finished the race, we both ran, we both crossed the finish line and didn't hate running afterward. For me as a coach, it was very fun and very cool to experience this from the other side. Again, I don't work with a lot of endurance athletes. I don't build endurance programs. I don't really even do all that much running programming anymore. So it was great for me to be on the other side of things where I got to use someone else's programming. I got to put my trust into that program, just like how many of my clients put their trust in me to help them with their health, a significant portion of their life. Another thing that I wanted to mention about the Chicago Marathon is that it was just a lot of fun. It's really cool. The marathon is 26 miles long. It goes throughout the whole city of Chicago. You cross through all different neighborhoods. You run along the lake at some point. You really see a lot of the city. And the whole time, practically every block that you run is people on both sides of the street cheering you on, which is really a unique experience. The whole way, 26 miles. I don't even remember how many thousands, if not millions, of people come out to watch the marathon on that day. But that in itself is something really special and really intriguing about the Chicago Marathon. Going into the marathon training, I had expectations of how things would go. To be honest with you, I expected that I was not going to be able to train as much as I did. Proper training for the marathon required us to be running 4 days a week. I thought at best I'd be able to run twice a week, a long run on a weekend and then maybe a smaller run midweek, but we did it. We made a little bit of change to our schedule and it was okay. With that being said, we did, or I felt as if we missed out on a little bit of the Chicago summers, which sounds silly, I know. We were outside, we were running, we were on the lake most of the time when we did this training. But sometimes when you're running along the lake and you see a family having a barbecue or a group of friends having a glass of wine at the beach, you do get a little bit of FOMO in there, and you feel like you are missing out on the Chicago summer. Realistically, we were outside, we were enjoying it, but there was a little bit of that in the back of my mind the whole time. And then the last thing that I did not expect was a decrease in motivation to run. Now, okay, I expected for there to be a decrease in motivation to run. Naturally, as you do something for a long time, you kind of lose the thrill of it, and it just becomes less exciting. That didn't necessarily happen to me. What happened was that it started getting dark at like 6:30. So as fall started creeping in, the sun set earlier. So when you get off work at 6 o'clock and you're all ready to run by, let's say 7, and it's already dark, that just decreased the motivation to run. Yeah, we still did run, we still got them in, we still went out for our 8-mile runs at 7 p.m., but just the motivation to do it really decreased as the summer went on. So what did I actually get out of running the marathon? Well, number one, I ran the marathon. I was able to accumulate the mileage, just get myself to that point. A little bit negatively, I lost a little bit of weight as we went on, but I expected to, I planned for this. As you train, you only can train for so many things at once, and you really only have so much time in a day. So my running training kind of took over. I didn't have as much time for strength training, the stuff that helps me maintain a little more muscle mass. So that was a bit of a negative adaptation to training, but that's okay. I was able to spend my time training to run, which helped me run the 26 miles, so that's okay. It's just a trade-off, I suppose. One thing I was hoping to see some change in this training program was a change in my blood pressure. Now I tracked it throughout the 18-week training program, and it kind of stayed steady. I don't have really high blood pressure. Typically it's in the 1 teens for my systolic, and then my diastolic is in like the the 70s, so it's good blood pressure. I didn't really see big changes with it though, it kind of just stayed steady across. I expected to see a little bit of a decrease, or at least a trend toward decreasing, but I was reminded that, 18 weeks, on average, I probably took it 3 or 4 times a week. It's not a significant amount of data points or a significant amount of time to make big change. I probably need to look at a longer scale and then also get more data points to truly say, okay, running or training for a marathon is an effective way to decrease your blood pressure. So a positive change that I got out of training for a marathon was I had an increased mood, or improved mood, I should say. Spending a lot of time outside, getting a lot of sunlight, and really just spending a lot of time with my wife where we could talk and we could chat about things, we could chat about our days, really helped improve my mood. And then the last thing I got from training for a marathon was that we raised a bunch of money for an organization that we feel really strongly about helping. So we're very proud to say that we helped fundraise money for this organization. And if nothing else came out of this experience, that would be a very, very good positive thing to have done. This is just what I got out of running the marathon, but then I guess the question that a lot of you might have is, what would you expect to get out of running a marathon? And really this depends quite a bit on you. If you are somebody who's not a runner, you are definitely going to see an increase in your aerobic ability, hugely. In the beginning, you'll be like me, you'll do a 6-mile run and you'll think, that was kind of hard. And then as the weeks go by, you'll get to like an 18-mile run and you'll be like, that was kind of hard. But really, your perception of it stays about the same. A 6-mile run, an 18-mile run, at the time, they were both equally hard, but we train up toward it to the point where 18 miles is hard, but it's not the end of the world because you have adapted. Now, other changes that people could see are some body composition changes. I saw the changes of my weight go down. If you're somebody who has extra body fat and you're looking to change your body composition, you might be able to lose some body fat. Somebody who is already pretty athletic, maybe you're more like me and your body just changes shape a little bit. There's no real way to tell what kind of body composition changes you'll see in marathon training, just because every body is different. Everyone will respond differently. Plus we have all these other factors in life, such as diet and your sleep and the other training that you're doing that will affect that. You might see changes in your mood. Spending more time outside, spending more time exercise might increase your mood, might put you into a better mood. Maybe you'll see changes in your blood pressure. I didn't see significant changes, but you could. Other things that you might see are better sleep, just because you are exercising more, you're getting outside more, you're getting more sunlight. That's a great benefit of training for a marathon. Really there are so many things that could be affected by marathon training, and the way that it'll affect you will be so different from me or anybody else. Now, with that being said, do I believe that everybody should train for a marathon? And the answer to that is no, probably not. For me, it made pretty good sense. I'm 32 years old, I'm healthy, I stay active, I do some casual running, I do a lot of strength training, I take care of my body, I eat well, I sleep okay. So for me to run a marathon, to train to run a marathon more correctly, it was not a big stretch. It was totally within my ability. If you are someone who hasn't run in 30 years, it's going to be a little bit more challenging for you, and it might not be appropriate for you. If you're someone who has 2 knee replacements, it might not be appropriate for you. It could be, but it might not be. If you hate running a marathon might not be for you. Really, this one is so individual to you. If you are somebody who does want to run a marathon, I would encourage you to look at a couple of things. Number one, what is your history? Are you already running? How long have you been running? What kind of running have you been doing? Another thing I'd like you to ask yourself if you do decide to run a marathon is, are you ready for the time commitment? Because it does really require a lot of time. You do have to run multiple times a week. You do have to put in the miles. It's not just about our ability to become aerobically fit to run the marathon, but also for our joints, our feet in particular, to become adapted to all those steps, all that running for all those miles. So there is a bit of an adaptation phase in that regard. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but you just have to plan for it a little bit. It might also be worth asking yourself, is it the best mode for what I'm trying to do? For example, if you want to run a marathon to just improve your aerobic health, running is a great way to do that, but there's also cycling, there's also swimming. For a lot of us, maybe just walking might be the better option. It really depends on you and where you come from. But what's the minimum effective dose? And again, that's a big question. We might not have a strict answer for you here today, but a lot of organizations, they'll say, okay, we want you to do 60 minutes of moderate exercise 3 to 5 times a week. Training for a marathon is a bit more than that. So it might be more than is needed for you. Just the same, if you're somebody who has a hard time walking for 15 minutes, training for a marathon, that's a big goal. That's the elite level. Maybe your goal is just to get better at walking 15 minutes and then get better at walking for 20 minutes, then maybe 30 minutes, and maybe you work up towards an hour. Really, if you choose to run a marathon, I would encourage you just to take a fair evaluation of where you currently are, what you're currently doing, what your training history is, and then also what are you really hoping to get out of it? Do you want to run a marathon because you like the idea of running a marathon for sport? If that's the case, fantastic. I encourage you to train for a marathon, just like I encourage someone to play golf if they enjoy playing golf. But if your goal is to just improve your general health, there are probably more efficient ways to do that. It's probably some combination of aerobic training and some strength training as well, which is a big conversation of how you make all that work in your life. That's why we have coaches and other people who might be able to help you with that. But again, no matter what your goal is, I support you in it. If it's something that you really want to do, let's just make a plan for it and make sure it's appropriate for your situation. So for me, what has running this marathon proven? Well, number one, it proves that I can stick to an 18-week program and go from being a very casual runner to someone who can run 26 miles, which is no small feat. It also shows that the training program works. What are small incremental gains over the weeks really add up to quite a change. From the very beginning, when we start with 6 miles to when we end at 26 miles, that's a big change. And you feel it, you feel so accomplished afterward. I also, as a coach, I got a little bit more of an insight into training for endurance sports. That was very good for me, it was very interesting for me. Again, I got a lot of time with my wife out of this. I got a lot of outdoors time, which is really good. But overall, I would say I developed more of a respect, more of an understanding for trusting the process. Again, people come to me all the time. They trust me to help them create a program that really helps to improve their health. And that's a big responsibility that I take very seriously. And using someone else's programming, seeing how it works, kind of gave me the other side, put me on the perspective of the client who comes to a coach for help. And I just really enjoyed being on that side of things. One final note I'll make about running a marathon is that it's a big deal. For many people, it's the largest sporting event that they're even aware of. Running 26 miles is no small feat. Many people, it's the biggest event that we'll ever do. For other people, just as accomplishing is running a half marathon or running a 10K or maybe even like a 5K. Maybe your big goal is to walk, a mile or 30 minutes without getting fatigued. Whatever it is that is a big event to you absolutely matters. No matter if it's a 5K, it is just as much an accomplishment as it is running a marathon. So whoever you are, whatever your goals are, be proud of them. If you don't know what your goals are, if you don't know what you want to do, that's okay, set a goal, and don't be afraid to set a big goal either. And when you go to set your goals, take a look at them. Think about it. is it reasonable for you? Is it something that you can get done in a reasonable amount of time? Is it going to be safe for you? Will it be healthy for you? When it comes to setting a goal, I think it is good to try to make it a little bit harder. It's okay to take on a big goal. Just be sure that you're planning it out. If you have a plan, just like we did when we ran this marathon, a lot of things are accomplishable. If you don't have any idea where to start, feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call. I'd be happy to help you out setting up some kind of plan for whatever goal it is that you might have. Or if you just want to talk about what you could do or might be able to do, I'm happy to help with that too. So where do we go from here? I plan to continue to do some running. Moreover, I want to get back to some strength training. And really that introduces this next project that I'm going to be working on. I got so much support from you during this marathon training process. People were asking me all the time about how the training was going, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate how people truly cared about it. So what I wanted to do next is show you how I, as a coach, take a goal, how I break that goal down, how I create a plan, and how I choose to implement that training for myself. In my case, I want to start doing a little more strength training. I want to put back on a little bit of size, a little bit more muscle. So over the next few months, I'm going to try to make a concerted effort to get my diet back in shape for gaining muscle, get my workouts back in shape for gaining muscle, and show you how I do it. But really, I want to take this opportunity to show you my thought process of how I train myself, but then also clients who come to me. I want to show you reasonable expectations of what you might expect to get out of a training program. It's my intention that these videos might serve as a backlog or a portfolio that one can reference back to another time if they have similar goals to what I'm trying to do. You can get a coach's perspective of how do I best train for this or this or this. And really I wanted to let this live in perpetuity, free of cost, just for others to be able to see how I do things and how you might benefit from it as well. I really want to thank everybody for all of the support throughout the last few months as I trained for this marathon. It was very exciting, it was a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend it for you if, number one, it's appropriate for you, and number two, you want to do it. If there's ever anything that I can do to help you in that regard or any other, please feel free to shoot me an email, give me a call, come find me in person, and we'll talk about any of this stuff. Thanks for watching today, everybody. Have a good day.